Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Dever, Director of Public Works for Cuyahoga County and the Chair of the County Planning Commission. Thank you for joining us for the Thursday, October 13th, 2023 meeting. At this time, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Annette?
Yes. Director Wan? Mayor Brennan?
Here.
Councilperson Conwell? Mayor Daley Jones?
Here.
Director Dever?
Here.
Mayor Gallo? Here. Mayor Orcutt?
Here.
Mayor Sellers? Councilperson Simon? Mayor Traore? Mayor Wheelo?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to first acknowledge Mayor Nicole Daley Jones. I think this is your first meeting, right?
It is. Thank you.
So welcome.
Excited to be here. Thank you.
Outstanding, thanks. And then also I'd like to recognize the new County Law Director, Rick Maniloff. Thank you for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Thanks. Okay, with that being said, do we have any comments from the public? No comments from the public. Next item is approval of minutes for April 13th, 2023. If you could, review the minutes. If there's any questions or comments.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other further comments?
Brennan and Wheelo for the record. Well, they're recording.
Hello.
I'd like the record to reflect that Councilwoman Simon is joining us. All right, if there's no comments, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Next are the resolutions before us today. Mary?
Yep.
Thank you. Our first resolution is number 230713-A, requesting the approval of an administrative agreement with the Ohio Public Works Commission and the District 1 Public Works Integrating Committee. Allison Ball, our Planning Initiative Specialist, will be presenting for you today.
Great, thank you. So, forward this, there it is. All right, so thank you, and I'm here today about the administrative cost agreement between Ohio Public Works Commission and the District 1 Public Works Integrating Committee. The Ohio Public Works Commission was created initially in 1987 for the purpose to facilitate the infrastructure program, and this is all in the Ohio Revised Code in Section 164. The Ohio Public Works Commission also added on a Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Program in 2000, and their mission is to deliver its statutory programs with the greatest efficiency and highest customer satisfaction while maintaining a high level of transparency and accountability to Ohio's taxpayers. The Ohio Public Works Commission administers the infrastructure programs, and I'll go over what the programs are in a little bit. In conjunction with local control, and the state in the 80s was divided up into 19 district integrating committees, and Cuyahoga County is District 1, a little arrow in case you forgot where we were. And what's unique about Cuyahoga County is we're one of 5 or 6 single county districts. There's a lot of multi-county districts. So all the programs are run within the county. For your information, I added who is on our local committee, and so there by Ohio Revised Code, we have 2 Cuyahoga County representatives, which is Director Dever and Ms. Nicole English from the County Department of Public Works. We have 2 representatives from the City of Cleveland. The Ohio Revised Code states 2 representatives from the most populous municipality in the county or the district. So Mr. James DeRosa and Ms. Benita Tewin are the representatives, and then the Mayors and Managers Association also has 2 representatives, and that's Mayor Sellers and Mayor Kumar. And then that committee will approve a private sector representative, and it used to be Debbie Berry, but she is now a public employee, so we have a vacancy, and it is already being advertised on our website and on LinkedIn. So The programs that we run are the State Capital Improvement Program. This is a combined grant loan program based on funding from general obligation bonds. Of the allocation of the SCIP funds, 10% is required to go to loan. And all the loans that go out in District 1 are repaid to District 1 for a revolving loan program. So that revolving loan program is kind of under the State Capital Improvement Program. And then we also run the Local Transportation Improvement Program, and that is a grant program for roads and bridges based on funding from gasoline taxes. And that can only fund roads, bridges, and culverts, where the SCIP program includes water and wastewater. So there's also a small government commission at the state level. So villages and townships with populations in unincorporated areas or less than 5,000 in population have a second chance at getting funding. This is a statewide competitive grant program, and each district is allowed to submit up to 5 applications for that program. And then that program has $23 million for the next funding round. And the emergency program is at the state, and that is a $12 million fund. And the emergency funds are awarded by the director's discretion, and it is for projects that arise out of catastrophic situations and threaten public health and safety. It's not for preventative at all, and you have to provide pictures and a lot of proof in that application to the state. So we have a great need in the county for these programs. So, and like I said, it's roads, bridges, culverts, wastewater, water supply projects, and also solid waste, but we don't have that need here. We do mostly these other projects. So the coming round was just posted on our website on Monday, and you can see, you can't see, but we have close to 30 million allocated for fiscal year 25. So the project applications will come in September. They're required by ORC to have 60 days from the time it's posted until we get in. And then those will be approved by the DOPWIC in early 24, and then the money will be available for those projects July 1 of 24 through 25. So that's state fiscal year 25. Just to give you an idea of the projects that were funded for the fiscal year 24, we have 20 projects that include, where's that note? Well, it includes 2 bridge projects, 10 road projects, 3 water supply, and 7 wastewater. So, and you can see it's spread throughout the county. So in the administrative services contract, the tasks include undertaking the work and activities set forth in the scope of work defined in an administrative agreement that was included in your packet, your agenda packet today. Attend any OPWC-sponsored leadership events as necessary to maintain a level of staff proficiency. Provide the district and the state with the transcription of minutes, meeting notices, and agendas. The DOPWIC is a public body. And travel within the district as requested by the district to assess local subdivisions, as well as conducting the meetings as necessary. And the last 2 things are under the direction of the district, initiate and develop project selection processes for approval by the district, and under the direction of the district, notify and assist all political subdivisions of the opportunity to apply for financial assistance and to be considered for SCIP, RLP, and LTIP program funds. So today we are requesting the approval of the program cost agreement with the OPC and the DOPWIC for funding cycle FY 2024, and the total project budget $65,000 not to exceed, and the work will take place, it's retroactive in the contract or project agreement included in your packets from July 1 of 23 to June 30th of 2024.
Thanks, Allison. For this vote, I will have to abstain since I do sit on the board as well as if Mayor Sellers was here with us, he would be abstaining too from this vote. If I could, I'm just going to ask one question anyways. They do a really amazing job, Allison, administering this program, so I want to make sure I do a shout out to her. But at the same time, $65,000, I think that number has been fairly constant over 10 plus years, and I'm sure cost as they continue to escalate. Has there been any conversation downstate about potentially raising that administrative fee?
No, there isn't. This is a voluntary fee for the districts. And so not all the districts use it. Not all the districts submit or get 40 applications per year. Some get 7. And so we have a lot more work in our district. So we're the second most populous in the state, and also one of the most built out of counties in the state as well. So there has not been discussion of that at the state level. And also, I will say, I was looking back, because this question comes up a lot, that we have not always used, and when I say we, this is way before my time as a liaison, not always used all 65,000, and we are now using that. So perhaps it will be time to look at that, but right now we're just bumping up to that number, so, and hitting our marks.
Is there any comments or questions from any of the
I have a question. Could you just
Oh,
tell
microphone.
us what?
your microphone?
Oh, I think it's on, oh, there it is. So I just wanted to know, when it says on here, assistance with work-wise assistance, so what is that?
So WorksWise is the Ohio Public Works Commission online application portal and repayment portal. So we help with the applications there. That's where they're downloaded. That's where a lot of the record keeping is held. It's a really great program. It tracks everything from applications, even applications that aren't accepted. People can just duplicate, clone their application and reapply. And then also, this is the portal that the applicants use to, or the award winners use to submit their reimbursement costs and everything.
Yeah, $12,000, I mean, that's a nice price, because a lot of programs are much higher than that, and when you include applicant support and correspondence, I just wondered what that all entailed. Thank you.
Thanks. I'd like the record to reflect also that Councilperson Conwell and Director Wong has joined us today. Any other further comments or questions on the program? Okay, can I have a motion?
Motion so made to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And those abstaining? Aye. Dever. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Allison. Okay, next up, Mary.
Next item for your consideration is resolution number 230713-B, requesting the approval of a professional planning services agreement with the City of Cleveland Heights to provide accessory dwelling unit research. Patrick Heward, our Manager of Planning Services, will be presenting today.
Thank you. We are requesting a contract with the City of Cleveland Heights for accessory dwelling unit research. As some background to this, accessory dwelling units are smaller independent residential dwelling units located on the same lot as a standalone detached single-family dwelling. The image on the right side of the slide shows a number of different formats for accessory dwelling units. These are units that can be, for instance, above a garage, in the same structure as the main unit, for instance. These are of interest to a lot of communities that would like to see additional types of dwellings in their community. For instance, these are sometimes called granny flats, where you may have an extended family member living in on the same lot, but in an independent dwelling unit. This project would assist Cleveland Heights, which does not presently allow accessory dwelling units, to research this topic. It would define accessory dwelling units, outline the benefits and concerns, and research best practices for zoning standards. The outcome of this project would be to, excuse me, first it would include outreach to other local and national communities that have adopted accessory dwelling unit regulations. Just recently, Cincinnati is the first city in the state of Ohio that adopted accessory dwelling units for that community. Ultimately, this would culminate in a report and recommendations for accessory dwelling units, how to implement them, how and where they would make the most sense, how that would fit into things like other policies of the cities. Importantly, as part of this contract, we would be sharing these findings. Accessory dwelling units were something that was requested by a number of communities as part of the First Suburbs single-family zoning project. It was probably the most common topic that was discussed with us outside of the work that we did for that project. Cleveland Heights has agreed with us to share any findings that we have as part of this project with other communities interested in this topic. As such, we are requesting approval of a professional planning services agreement with the City of Cleveland Heights. The total estimated cost for this project is $20,000. The City of Cleveland Heights would contribute a not-to-exceed amount of $12,500. The remaining $7,500 would be contributed by county planning. Work is estimated to be completed by March 31st, 2024, and would include a best practices guide. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Patrick. Any questions?
Not a question, but a comment. Mayor Brennan of University Heights. This is of great interest to numerous communities, not just Cleveland Heights. As we're all looking for ways to encourage aging in place, as we're looking, some communities are looking to leverage their density, as we're looking for, ways to care for a family member without having to necessarily put them into a home. You can have them at a home, by your home, at your home, or have them at home. And even in some instances, you can have folks who have lived at a house for a period of years and then move into the ADU and rent out the main house that they had been living in, thus keeping them in the community, keeping them generally where they want to be, and having usually a high-quality tenant because the landlord is, in fact, right there. Very excited to see this on the agenda. Happy to support it, and glad to know that Cleveland Heights and planning will be sharing results with numerous communities who would find this of interest.
I just have a question. What's taken so long, and what's the controversy about this type of zoning been? I mean, what is the issue? Safety, access?
Sure. That's one of the questions that we do want to answer is what are both the benefits and areas of concern. Certain things are this is going to be more people living on a single lot. So what does that mean in terms of parking, for instance? Who would be allowed to live in the accessory dwelling unit? Would it be limited to members of a family, or could you rent out an accessory dwelling unit to just any member of the community? So there are definitely concerns. There are also just a whole host of zoning regulations that are going to potentially stand in the way, as we know from single-family zoning project, that there's many different forms of zoning throughout the county. They're very different. Things like setback, height, parking, design guidelines are all features that could potentially stand in the way of allowing an accessory dwelling unit. So we need to research what that would look like as well.
Yeah, it's just bringing us to the modern day.
This is
Or
definitely
back kind of retro too, probably. It's more retro than modern, right?
It's definitely a very common topic that it's been coming up across the country with communities that are trying to allow, especially as we've seen concerns about affordability, allow other types of housing that can be more affordable for people to live in as well.
Yeah, pre-1950s, I bet families clustered together on their farmland, and even in Cleveland Heights, carriage houses are now zoned for, I don't know how that happened, but I think it's more an old idea coming back.
Great.
Yeah, that was
Director
actually
Wong.
going to be my comment, is I believe there's so many carriage houses in Cleveland Heights that are probably out of compliance currently, and now this would bring them to compliance, I assume.
That was a topic that we discussed when we were forming this contract, is that very instance. There are a number of carriage houses that wouldn't be allowed to be used as accessory dwelling units.
Right. Which is, we want to render that space active and legal. I just wanted to say, as a resident of the community, I highly support it and excited to see this happen, and certainly we'll be gleaning from those learnings too. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just add, at a national level, American Planning Association, this is a very timely topic. This is something that several communities across the United States are dealing with and wanting to find the right way to do it. And I think the biggest opportunity for us with this is not just contracting with one community, but it is something that they have said from the very beginning that they want this to be shared with other communities. And I think that, as the countywide planning agency, we do want to do more for more communities, and so it's a really great opportunity.
Any other further comments? Mayor Wheelo?
So I'm just hoping that you'll also look at, in these smaller yards, they do have 2 and 3 car garages. So we're really hoping that you even look at putting this ancillary structure kind of like on top of one of these, big garages that were built probably early 90s. So we do have, those. And, but, landscapers aren't there anymore, heating and cooling people don't live there anymore. So we're hoping that you just don't look at, vacant land. We're hoping that you'll look at even, what it would take to put it, to go up.
Absolutely. One of the first undertakings that we're going to have is really defining, when we talk about accessory dwelling units, that image showcased a number of different formats of how an accessory dwelling unit could be placed on a lot, especially when we have different size lots in different communities, of course. Things like an above garage unit, one that's attached to the house but maybe has a separate entrance. There could be many different forms that an accessory dwelling unit could take.
Mayor?
Yes, recommendations with regard to, where lot coverage issues are. I mean, to Mayor Wheelo's point, if you're building a unit over a garage, you're not changing the lot coverage size. Like in our community, we have 25%, but we waive it sometimes a little bit, but taking a hard look at that and understanding, of course, the stormwater implications for too much impermeable surface, et cetera, et cetera. So happy to hear that you're looking at above the garage as well as taking up valuable space in the yard.
Absolutely.
Any other further comments? Move to adopt?
Motion? Oh, did you move?
Yep.
Oh, I'll second that.
Seconded. Any other further comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is resolution number 230713-C. We're requesting approval of a final plat for a portion of Phase 3, herein referred to as Phase 3A, for the Sanctuary of Olmsted and the Preserve of Olmsted Sanctuary and Preserve, PRD subdivision in Olmsted Township. Megan Cheney, our senior planner, is here to present today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
And also with me is Jim O'Connor from Pulte Homes and Rajeen. I didn't catch your last name.
Oh, Rajeen.
Rajeen, yes. So the Sanctuary and Preserve of Olmsted, I know you all are familiar with. Do I advance with this?
The big triangle.
This is for Phase 3 final plat approval. This subdivision consists of 5 different phases, just as an overview. Phase 1, 3, and 4 are under Pulte. Phases 2 and 5 are with Valore. So this development has 2 different developers. Phases 2 and 5 under Valore have not yet been developed. So just as a quick history, in February of 2020, the overall master plan and the preliminary plans for phases 1 and 2 were conditionally approved by the County Planning Commission. In May 2020, just a few months after that, phases 3 and 4 preliminary plans were also approved. In the subsequent years, improvement plans for phase 1 were submitted and approved by Public Works, and a final plat was submitted to County Planning Commission and approved by County Planning Commission in February 2022. Subsequently, 38 single-family or sublots for single-family homes were subdivided, and that phase is nearing completion for construction. So phases 2 and 3, so there is a requirement in our subdivision regulations that phase developments need to go sequentially in order of the phases. Phase 2 and Phase 3 improvement plans were submitted at roughly the same time, with Phase 2 proceeding just before Phase 3. But Phase 3 improvement plans were reviewed or I shouldn't say reviewed, approved by Public Works prior to Phase 2 approvals. Recognizing that Phase 2 wasn't moving as fast as Phase 3 and 4 under Pulte Homes, Jim O'Connor and Pulte Homes filed a recommendation with the County Planning Commission to grant a modification of our regulations that would relieve them of that phasing requirement, such that Phases 3 and 4 could proceed in advance of Phase 2. And that was initially approved by the Planning Commission in September of last year, and then we approved a modification or an amendment to that modification this past April. So it was approved conditionally. So there were two requirements that only 12 sublots could be created in Phase 3, while only one point of entryway exists. And then once that second point of egress is constructed and inspected and approved by Public Works, the remainder of those lots in Phases 3 and 4 could be platted. So Pulte Homes, once they got that approval, they went ahead with construction of improvements for Phase 3. And it should be noted that the entirety of Phase 3 improvements have been put in and inspected. Even while this particular plat only shows a portion of sublots being created. So Phase 3 includes the creation of 12 residential sublots for single-family homes, as well as blocks I and J, which will constitute that second final plat. To differentiate them, we've called them Phase 3A and 3B, just to differentiate the two steps that we'll be reviewing for these two final plats. And again, all those improvements in Phase 3 are completed and inspected, and will be going to County Council for the acceptance of dedication. That will not be necessary in Phase 3B. So just that's an overview of where Phase 3 is in the context of the entire subdivision. So this shows all eventually what the different sublots will be. Only those towards the western portion of the subdivision are, I should say, only those just above that red portion have been subdivided. This is a close-up of Phase 3 final plat that we are reviewing, just with those 12 sublots, and then the blocks I and J above it. So we circulated the final plat to all reviewing agencies, and we have found it in conformance with county subdivision regulations, with the approved preliminary plan. All improvements have been inspected and found up to code and in conformance with improvement plans. All conditions set forth in the approving preliminary plan have been addressed, and infrastructure improvements have been completed. We are waiting on maintenance and performance guarantees. They've been submitted. We need some final reviews before those are finalized and submitted. So County Planning Commission is recommending conditional approval subject to these conditions, and you see the big check by two of them. Those have been completed. We did not get verification that those had been completed by the time we wrote the staff report. So 2 out of the 3 have been taken care of. That included updating certain parcel information on the final plat and verification from OEPA that the permit to install was valid. We have those 2 things. So the only thing that remains outstanding is the finalized performance and maintenance guarantees. So next steps, if County Planning Commission conditionally approves this final plat, the County Council will consider the acceptance of dedication of lands involving the public roadway, right-of-way, and easements for utilities. And once this occurs, the developer can go ahead and file the plat with the county, and the sublots will be created. Any questions?
Any questions? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve.
Very good.
Second. further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Good job, Megan.
Next item on our agenda is the executive director's report, Mary.
See, we'll try and get you guys out of here on time today. Thank you for your patience. I know there's a lot of different things going on and a lot of moving parts, so I'll try and keep things brief. I did want to recognize and introduce Luke Oles, if you want to just stand up for a minute. Luke graduated with his bachelor's from Cleveland State University. We've been lucky enough to have him as a summer intern this summer. The even better news is he will be transitioning into one of the Cleveland Foundation Fellows for the fall, and so we will have him until next July. So we are very happy to have him. He has dove right into all the projects and involved in a lot of things, and so it's our first opportunity that the Cleveland Foundation takes care of his salary, and so that's a big benefit for us to add capacity without increasing our budget needs. So welcome to Luke. So thank you. The other congratulations, and neither one of them are here. I did text Laura, but I know they're both very busy. Both Nicole Laird and Laura Mendez Ortiz received their AICP designation. So we're thrilled for that designation for them, continuing to grow in their careers and learning new skills. And so just wanted to publicly congratulate them for that achievement. Okay. I don't have the remote, so you'll have to help me out. Okay. Just wanted to give you an update. Hopefully you've heard a lot of the great things going on with the single-family zoning analysis that we did in partnership with the First Suburbs. We've actually completed that project. Thank you to Patrick and his leadership on that project. It was a really great partnership with First Suburbs, Cuyahoga County Land Bank, First Federal, and then several individual communities. We did the heavy lift, not we, but they did the heavy lift of analyzing, zoning codes in 19 communities to determine what barriers there might be to infill housing. So I think it is a nice parallel with the ADU conversation that infill housing is something that, we're seeing a greater need for, and we want the communities to have some control and say so in what happens in their communities for new housing going in. We included a best practicing guide for updating the zoning or developing design guidelines and incentivizing new development and educating residents. So I was going to have Patrick do a presentation, but I didn't know how long we'd go with the other 3 items, so I just wanted to at least give you an update with that, but it's been really, really great. Recently, we were in South Euclid, Mayor Wheelo's hometown there, and toured a new house at 4225 Wilmington Road. This was a new house that was constructed by the Land Bank, Cuyahoga County Land Bank. It required 2 variances for this construction. The new regulations that we've been writing for South Euclid, they were a pilot that came out of the single-family zoning along with the city of Euclid. This revision to those zoning regulations would have prevented any variances from being needed for this construction. So it was a really great case in point of we want to make sure that developers feel welcome in communities, that we're not making them jump through a lot of hoop, but that we also have guidelines that we want to make sure that we're instilling. So News Channel 5 was on the event. Mayor Wheelo did a great job, I think, kicking that off. Great conversations. And I don't know how many mayors were there. We had 8. Quite a few. We had a lot of mayors there, so it was a really great event. So thank you to Patrick and the team on all their hard work on this project. Also want to just talk about some recognition on our work. Most recently, the APA Ohio newsletter contained an article that Patrick wrote on single-family zoning. So again, we're just trying to make sure that our work doesn't just happen inside the walls of our offices, but that we're sharing those resources and sharing our findings on the work that we're doing. We have submitted 3 projects for nominations for APA Ohio Awards. And then another one actually is for one of our employees, Paul Triolo, for his Cleveland State's capstone project. They submitted that for an award as well. So we're excited to find out if we get some trophies to bring home with those. Also, single-family zoning has been submitted for an APA National Award. So we'll find out about that fairly soon as well. We did submit 3 sessions for the APA State Conference that happens in late September, and all 3 were selected. So we will be presenting 3 sessions during that state conference, one on single-family zoning, one on the Lakefront Public Access Plan, and then single-family zoning design guidelines. Coming up soon, my former director, or my current director colleague, we will be taking part in the Cleveland.com APA National Panel. It takes a planner, lakefront redevelopment with planners, policymakers, and Cleveland communities. So myself, Director Wong, and Ryan Zimmerman from Metro Parks will be on that panel. And just before we start, Mayor Bibb and County Executive Chris Ornane will be doing a fireside chat. So really excited about that. Just as part of this, It Takes a Planner is a campaign that APA National is doing. It's going to be a year-long event. So I think, Joyce, if you want to share anything, we had two really good calls this week in preparation for that, talking about how planners see things differently and how that's what helps things get built and gets things done. And so having that vision and the cooperation and partnership, I think we say, is unparalleled, right now with all the efforts that are going on with the lakefront. So I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
Sure, it was great to hear from them about how they would characterize the value add of planners to our communities, which is the long-range vision and keeping the vision, the data-driven analysis, and then the last is, I think, just the policy side. I can't exactly remember what the last point was, but that national panel is really meant to drive home those three areas and why planners are critical to thinking holistically about our communities.
Thank you. So that's July 25th. I know it was invitation only, so a lot of elected officials and leaders along communities that are along the lakeshore. So I think they're going to live stream it, I'm assuming. I would hope, but we don't know for sure. So anyway, that was exciting. Then moving on, thinking ahead, just capacity, planning grants, and our budget. Right now, we've got 4 of the planning grant projects that are well underway, and they're going. I was hoping Mayor Sellers was here because we just had a fantastic public meeting last night in City of Warrensville Heights for their Green Road Park extension plan. I think they had about 85 attendees, very well received. The whole point of all these projects really is to make sure that we're getting input from the community at their various levels. We also have the Lakewood Madison Park Master Plan, which has been tremendous. I mean, Meg is leading that one, and just getting input from the school kids and having them draw pictures of what they want to see in their parks is just, it's so much fun. So that one's going on, as well as the City of Euclid. Rachel is leading. That's no longer the active transportation plan. Bike and pedestrian. Yes, so there is that one, and then we are doing one for Fairview Park on Lorraine Road, Business District Revitalization Plan. None of these have easy names. And that one's really great too, because we just had a meeting last week with City of Cleveland, Metro Parks, the county, NOACA, who else? The city, there was a lot, North Olmsted, right? There's a lot of people. Lorraine Road is a very long road. And so while we're doing a project in Fairview Park, there's a lot of things that are happening in North Olmsted and in West Park and Cleveland. And so how do we look at it all together, RTA? And it's part of the IIJA strategy that NOACA and the board have approved to say, how do we help best coordinate efforts in applying for federal funds? And so there is a pilot program for TOD that RTA is considering for that Lorraine Road corridor. Now it begins to determine on what's the beginning and the end, because it's a very long, I mean, there's been some suggestion to take it all the way to Cleveland Clinic, so from Carnegie. So we'll see where we get, but it's a really great, I don't think I've ever experienced the collaboration that's happening right now in the planning world. And I think the cities and the various new leaders really coming together to just say, we're not going to just do our piece, but how do we help each other? Because it was a good example with the Brook Park Road corridor study when Mayor Gallagher was there. And it's just, it doesn't, roads don't know the city borders. And so you won't want to change drastically between one, and you want to make it comprehensive. So it was great to talk through that. So. We're also evaluating capacity for our 2024 round of planning grants. We're hopeful that most of the 4 projects that we're working on now will be wrapped up by the end of the year, early next year, but we have a lot of other projects that weren't planning grant projects that are still going on, and really just giving some thought to what do we want to do if we do open it up again, and how narrowly, and how, we didn't do master plans last time, really saw a big desire for parks and green space plans, as well as active transportation. So giving some thought to that. We did recently post for a principal planner. We got about 14 applications, and the one sticking point we're finding is that not a sticking point, but when we went through the class plan, we had AICP as a requirement for that. And unfortunately, a lot of the candidates did not have their AICP. We're just learning from HR that everyone had time to get back and confirm that, and there were not a lot that had it. So the big piece with that one was really trying to add some capacity and take some of the day-to-day management of things off of the two managers, because we've got a lot of people working on a lot of projects. So rethinking, some of that and how we work through that. So that's still underway. We do have a co-op that was previously with us in the spring. It showed interest in coming back in the fall, so that would be a great piece of capacity with someone hitting the ground running. So we've got to take a look at our budget and see if that's something we can do. As many of the folks in this room know, the biennial budget process has begun for 2024, 2025, and so we'll be meeting with our OBM analysts to try and figure out what dollars we have, what we need. Again, we've carried this vacancy trying to identify the right candidate, so that's something where I know they take a snapshot in time of what our payroll is at the time, and with that vacancy, we want to make sure that we do have budget availability to fill that position going forward. So the other thing I wanted to mention that I didn't put on the slide, and Patrick and Joyce, feel free to jump in, but transit-oriented development is still one of those projects that is well underway. And so this Friday, Matt Moss from the City of Cleveland will be presenting a virtual session on transportation demand management, and really taking a look at how do people make transportation decisions and how do we better design systems to give people more choices. And so Matt and the City of Cleveland have been terrific partners in this conversation, and looking forward to hearing about that. And then I think, when's the next one? Buffalo. The next Friday, we have counterparts in Buffalo talking about, they've done away with parking minimums for the entire city of Buffalo. So, and they've seen tremendous improvements and development around that. So as much as we get scared about people demanding their parking, it's great to see case studies in other places where they've taken the leap and they've done it, and it's actually reaped really great benefits. So that's another APA national. I mean, it's all parking and green streets and a lot of momentum behind that. But I think that was all I had for that. Did you want to say anything about that?
Sure. So just at a high level, the Transportation Demand Management Program identifies areas very close to public transit. And right now, our community has parking minimums, which requires developers and commercial property owners to develop a certain amount of parking, which requires extra land purchases, perhaps even demolition of structures to create parking. And it's just not a sustainable way to utilize our land use, especially if we want to move in a more sustainable way. So Matt Moss has been working closely with the county, and thank you, Patrick, to come up with a program that essentially makes that parking minimum requirement much more flexible. So it's more of a build what you need mentality. And here's a menu of options that you as a developer can choose from to encourage multimodal or transit ridership, subsidizing bus passes, building bike share, et cetera. And so it's pretty unique and innovative. We're cheering this piece on. It was introduced last night at City Council for introduction. So we'll see how the process plays out as we bring it forward to City Council. Thanks.
Thanks, Joyce. And the only other thing, Mayor Willow and I were talking briefly before this started. I thought it'd be good to give you an update on where we are with the bylaws. As we talked about last meeting, we weren't ready to bring them back, doing some work with law and working through with Councilman Simon. So I don't know if Mayor Willow, you want to give a quick update?
Sure. Am I allowed to make a comment before this? Okay, so I just wanted to let you know regarding the single-family zoning analysis, which has been very interesting to me. In speaking to the woman who bought this house for, I think it was $330,000, came from Chicago, kept trying to purchase a home in our city, but kept being outbid. Being able to purchase a home that is brand new or purchase a lot actually allows you to live in a community that you want to live in. So you secure your residency. And so it was really interesting to hear her talk about this, that, this infill building isn't just about bringing in homes that might allow you to live out your life there if you want a ranch, or if you want an attached garage because you're just tired of the wind and the rain, or if you just want you have a colonial and all you really wanted was to have an extra bathroom on the first floor. It was about securing a place for residency, which I had never, ever thought about. So I think that, as we continue to sell our lots, I think I'm going to try to, I don't know if I can even, do this through my GIS, but I'm going to try to meet with some of these people to find out, why did you want to secure this piece of property to build your home here? Or what was it that brought you to choosing this new home? Because she said she couldn't get an existing home. So it was a real interesting thing that I had never thought about. And then the last thing about the planning grants, I kind of already said, I really hope you look at the master plans again, especially for many of us in the first suburbs. We do not have the funding to really do it right. And those grants afforded us in our community to really bring in the emerging consumer and look at what South Euclid could be moving forward. So I'm here to advocate for more planning grants. Okay, now that I'm done with my little pitch, myself, County Councilwoman Simon, the administration of the Planning Commission, we met for a good couple hours. And what we really realized is when we went through each and every portion of the bylaws is, we have these bylaws, but how do they interact with the ordinances of the county, right? And our own administrative code and all of these things. So we have a little ways to go, but it might come down, if we really like something in our bylaws, it might be where county council then has to look in an ordinance form to allow us to do something like this. So, I think that it's kind of a good housekeeping thing now that we've had a county government for a while. We now are going to be able to look at how do we really take what we need now, and then what, I guess, housekeeping we have to do with the actual county council and with the administration. So I think it's going to be kind of even a little more enjoyable than some of us thought, a little more hard work, but we'll get there and we'll bring everything forward as soon as we can match that up. That's my report.
And that concludes my report.
Outstanding. Any comments or questions for the executive director on her report? Seeing none, I think we'll move on to the next item, old business. Is there any old business? None? New business? Any new business? Yes.
I just wanted to share, hopefully a lot of you saw this on social media, and I thought our very own Councilman Simon would be very proud of us for this. The County Planning Commission is piloting for the Department of Sustainability the Bring Your Own Bag opportunity. And so it's Plastic-Free July, and so we have a recycled coat rack that has bags that people can grab on their way out and go to Heinen's and come back and put the bag back when you come back. The sign's made out of recycled cardboard, and the strap that's actually holding onto there is a part of a T-shirt, which I can't take credit for any of this. Catherine in Department of Sustainability did all of this. So we were just really excited. I saw her in the parking garage one day, and I said, where can I get these bags? I'm like, I'm so tired of seeing the blue bags up and down East 9th when everyone goes to lunch and goes to Heinen's. So she was like, wait, how many people are in your department? And I said, 18, 19. She goes, you guys would be perfect for a pilot. Would you do it? So we said, absolutely. So it is in our lobby. We've had people from other departments come in, borrow a bag, bring it back. And you see our own folks here taking some out to lunch and grabbing some lunch from Heinen's. So, it's one of those things where we talked about our vision, we talked about our mission, and environmental health is part of our mission statement. And so I hate to be the mom of saying stop bringing blue bags in here, but this was a really fun way to do it. So we actually just relocated it closer to the front door so more people could see it. But yeah, it's been fun. So thank you to our models that we're actually going out the door to use it.
Okay, do we have any other comments, questions? I'd just like to also acknowledge the Executive Director of NOACA is here with us today, and welcome. Thanks for coming, Grace. Anything further? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, everyone, and we stand adjourned.